friend Zine here with Mad Max RT. I thought I'd do something a little different today for a lot of my Mopar friends. A lot of them are younger and may not be aware of a lot of fantastic movies that came out over the years. Some of them are new movies and some of them are classic older ones that have Mopars in them, that have Dodge, Chargers, Challengers. Some of them have police cars in them. Some of them are more popular muscle cars of the era. So I thought I'd go through and pick out some of what are my favorites that I have in my own personal collection. I'll start off with my DVDs and I'll finish with my Blu-rays. I'll start off with a great one many of you have seen, which is the Stephen King's Kristine movie. A fantastic film, all built around a 58 Plymouth from hell. Very good scenes. I actually was friends with Roy Arbogast, with his son Mikey, that did a lot of the special effects in this, and he gave me a lot of really cool tidbits of behind the scenes making this film and many others. A wonderful film. I've seen this movie so many times. I actually had the same blue 69 Charger that was in the movie in the beginning of the film with the black vinyl top. So at the time, I must have saw this 4 or 5 times at the theater. I loved this. I saw it so many times, and so many times in VHS and DVD. I'll have to get it on Blu-ray one of these days. A wonderful film. The Blues Brothers, another great movie. Many of you have seen it. I've probably seen this movie more than any of these other films so many times. Wonderful film. Love the characters, even have the CDs or the old record albums from the Blues Brothers. But it was all built around kind of this old ex-police car, which was a 74 Dodge Monaco. I actually found behind an old church an abandoned 74 Dodge Monaco that was an old police car. And no one claimed it. I asked my dad if I could have it. He goes, yeah, just get it out of here. So I went through the trouble of adopting the car and putting their paperwork in my name. I couldn't find the original owner. After so many days or months, you're allowed to keep the car if no one claims it. So I actually kept the car. I had a wonderful 440, had some electrical problems, and I loved the car. I had so much fun with that car. I had it longer than probably any other Dodge Mopar that I've owned, and I later sold it to a good friend of mine. He had it for many years after that. Wonderful car for road trips. It actually ran really good. It had a nice 440 in it. I put a 850 double pumper Holly on it. My God, even with the tall gears in that thing, you could do huge burnouts with it. Really cool movie. Some of the best car chase and stunts and crashes you'll ever see in a film. Many of you have seen the Blues Brothers. There's another great movie called The Wraith. Now this has a bunch of Chryslers in it. It has an old late model, late 60s Cuda in it, which is pretty cool. But it also has, it shows there's an 86 Dodge Daytona Turbo Z, a red and silver one. I had the identical car back at the time that I saw this, which is so cool. And then next to it, one of the main cars in the film is a rare concept car made by Chrysler that was also owned by the PPG Paint Company. I actually saw that car being offloaded in Culver City right after they completed this film and wrapped it up. I was installing a film at a television production company, and I saw them unloading this really cool car. I go, my God, that's a car from the movie The Wraith. Very cool looking car. It's got some really good Chryslers in it. Charlie Sheen before he took the long slide downhill. Really good movie showing some what later became bigger actors in smaller roles at the time. It's an old movie with David Carradine called Cannonball, which primarily is around him driving. He's got like this old, an old Firebird Trans Am in it, but one of the bad guy in the film has an old, I think it's a 68 or 69 black Charger that plagues him in this, kind of a death race type deal. It's a really cool film, kind of cheesy old school movie, but it's got some great scenes of this Charger really getting it on at high speed. Really good stuff. I recently just saw this again. I've been watching, on Netflix, this Punisher TV show, the new miniseries. But I enjoy the original Punisher with Thomas Jane. And there's a scene, even though he had he had an old Le Mans or a GTO that he fixed up in it for the Punisher's car. But his nemesis in it had, I think it was a GTX, 69 GTX in it, which was really cool. So it's got some good scenes of some Chryslers in it. There's another kind of a lesser known film. It's got Jim Caviezel in it, who played Jesus in the last, I forget what it was called, but the movie about Jesus anyway. But he did this. I don't know if he did it before or after that role, But it's a really unusual film about a guy that is killing people on the road with his car. And he has an old, like a late 60s, I think it's like a 69 Hemi Cuda. So it's got some great shots of an old school Hemi Cuda, really cool car wrecks and car chase scenes in this. Very cool film. Anything that has old Chryslers in it, I'm a huge fan of. Of course, the movie Death Proof. I mean, even though it's, Kurt Russell in the beginning of the film, it's all about his 70 Nova, which I had one of those as well, and a real SS one. But later, you get to see that he drives a cool black 69 Charger, and he's chasing a white Vanishing Point style 70 Challenger. A great film. I'm sure many of you have seen this. A really good, kind of a cheesy grindhouse, low-budget film. But I really like this one. I watch this typically once a year because it's just so cool. I hate to see them destroy these wonderful Chrysler cars, but it is kind of neat to see the cars out on the road and to hear what they really look and sound like, which is pretty cool. There's other movies that I have. I have the original Gone in 60 Seconds movie. I have the remake. And then the guy that made the first Gone in 60 Seconds movie made a follow-up called The Junkman. Now, these films have a wide variety of cars, but you'll see many cool Chryslers in them. Some of them are police cars. Some of them were rare Cudas and stuff like that that you'll see in the films. All of them are pretty good. I think there's a Hemi Cuda in this as well. There's some good cars in this. Even though they're briefly shown, it does have a great assortment of Chryslers in them. Another very unusual film with Tommy Lee Jones before his career really took off, and it's called Blackman Rising. Now, this is a great film. He plays like a tough, I don't know if he's a private eye or a bodyguard or something, but he's hired to go in and, steal these plans or something. He's kind of like an espionage thing. But he has a really cool Dodge Daytona Turbo Z from the 80s, just like the one that I used to have. They kind of beefed up the soundtrack a little bit. It also has kind of a futuristic car that he's kind of hired to go in and steal this car. That's right, steal the plans for a car or to steal the car itself. It's got some good stunts in it, good performances. It's got the gal Linda Hamilton that was in the Terminator movie, Tommy Lee Jones, and many other popular actors. Really good, actually good driving scenes of an 80s, Dodge Daytona Turbo Z, which a lot of people laugh at those cars now, but at the time, that was the best muscle cars you could have. Chrysler's Shelby Dodge Charger that I used to have and the Dodge Daytona Turbo Z actually were really fast cars and gave the 5.0 Mustangs and the IROCs a run for their money. Clint Eastwood and Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. Now, this has a variety of cars in it, but one of the cool cars that's in it, there's this kind of a redneck hillbilly that drives this old jacked up with huge meats in the back, an old Plymouth Fury. Sounds like it's got a 440 in it. So crazy scenes in it, but I love the scenes and the soundtrack of the car shifting through the gears. Sounds awesome. Thunderbolt Lightfoot, a wonderful Jeff Bridges and Clint Eastwood film. I'd highly recommend. And the final one I've got on DVD is Lone Wolf McQuade, a really good Chuck Norris film. I must have saw this 4 times at the theater when it first came out. What's cool about this is it has an unusual Dodge in it. He's got an old Dodge Ram Charger with a blower in it, with a supercharger. And it's kind of like the star of the film, along with Chuck Norris. Really cool scenes. It shows him with this thing getting it on at high speed on these desert roads, and really cool. Very unusual. If you love Dodge Ram Chargers, you got to see this, Lone Wolf McQuade. One of my favorite old Chuck Norris films from the old days. And getting into Blu-ray, even the new Mad Max Fury Road has one of the older Australian Chargers that they kind of made a tank out of, which is really cool. And it's got some other, Chryslers in it as well you'll recognize. I think there's like an old 71 or 72 Charger that's kind of, beefed up into one of these, Mad Max type constructions. But it's got a few rare Chryslers in it, as well as some of the other Mad Max movies themselves, like the Road Warrior also has a few rare ones. So this is kind of a brief mention, but it does have a pretty cool Charger made into a tank that has a major role in the film, which I think is pretty cool. Great movie. This is the best film I've seen in 20 years, by the way. The movie Duel. It's just an ugly little Plymouth Valiant, but it's such an iconic film, and it's just beautifully done. I love the way this is filmed. This really puts Spielberg on the map. Kind of a made-for-TV film. I remember my dad let me stay up. This was on like ABC Night at the Movies. This was a huge premiere event, and I got to see this the first night that it was on TV. My parents, I begged them to let me stay up and watch it. And they did. I think it was the early 70s, 71 or so. Wonderful film. This is a rare widescreen version of the film on Blu-ray, which I've never seen a widescreen version of the movie before. So this is a highly desirable. You gotta get this version of it on Blu-ray. Lane Blacktop. Now this is primarily about a 55 Chevy racing a 70 GTO with Warren Oates in it. But at the very beginning of it, it shows, and then later in the film as well, it shows some really cool kind of homegrown, old school, kind of down to earth, old school street racing. In the beginning, it shows a real street racers. One of them was called Big Willie in Los Angeles, and he had an old Dodge Daytona with a Hemi in it, and it shows him drag racing this Daytona, kind of as unusual as those cars are more known for NASCAR. But the beginning scenes alone in this, and the sound of the Hemi winding up and racing is so cool. I love this film. Anyone that loves old school, hot rods like I do, you gotta watch Lane Blacktop. A wonderful film. The movie The Car was built. Now I met George Barris. He actually gave me some pictures of this car which was built on. He built 3 of these from Mark III Lincolns with 460s. But it does have some really good Plymouth Fury police cars in it. A lot of the chase scenes in it are all, there's like some AMCs as well, but most of them are Plymouth Fury, kind of like the Blues Brothers car, the Bluesmobile in it. But it does have some good police chase scenes in it with some, Chrysler product, which is pretty cool. And it's a great film anyway. I look for any reason I can to show this film off. One of my favorite horror films and car movies of all time. Here's kind of a double feature, really cool with Peter Fonda. You've got Race with the Devil, which does have a few Chryslers in it, but it's just more of like a chase with everyone chasing this RV. And then it has a wonderful Dirty Mary and Crazy Larry. This is a highly recommended film, one of the best car chase films ever made. Peter Fonda starts off, it's kind of a heist movie. They rob a grocery store. So the film starts off with like a 67 blue Chevy. And then later, they have a hidden getaway car, which is a yellow 440 Dodge Charger RT 69 Charger. And it has some of the best filmed police chases you've ever seen. Fantastic. A pretty dynamic ending, shocking ending as well. At least it was shocking at the time when I first saw this. But one of my favorite car chase films. Lots of 440 Magnums, police cars with really beefed up 440s in them. The sound of the 440 in this is so authentic and so good. If you love Dodge Chargers, this is one of the greatest films, Dirty Mary and Crazy Larry. And this is the only way you can get it, is to get this kind of a dual copy on Blu-ray. Now the only one I have of the Fast and Furious, and again, most people think of, today they think of the Fast and Furious, which has a lot of the new Challengers and Chargers and all that stuff in it. This is the only one on Blu-ray that I have. I have some of them on DVD as well. I'm going to be, probably trading this one in. I'm going to buy a box set of all of them. I haven't seen the last 2 of them, or at least the ones after this. But it's great. At least it has a lot of the newer Chryslers in it. I saw they had a newer black Roadrunner GTX type car, one of the newer ones I've seen scenes from. But it's a fantastic series. I'm just happy to see that they're making car movies again. It's way out there and frankly, kind of cringeworthy at times, but still a lot of fun if you're into newer car movies and you want to see our beloved Chargers and Challengers as they are today. And in film, you can't beat this. Now, unfortunately, I can't find it. I have another movie that's called, it's called Death Race. It's got Jason Strahan in it and some other actors. I can't think. I can't find it. I have it. I think I have it on DVD. I've got so many. I got over 5,000 movies and boxes. I tried to find these. For some reason, I must have miscategorized that film. I can't find it, but I do have it, and has a really cool Dodge Hemi Ram in it, very much like my own Ram that I have. Kind of like a late 2000s Ram before they came up with the new style. And they made a really cool futuristic battle truck out of it. And you can really hear that. You can really hear the Dodge Hemi in it. It's a really cool film. Highly recommend that one. Really good film. I don't know about how the follow-ups. I think they were kind of like a straight-to-DVD movies. The second one, which I haven't seen yet, but the first one is quite good. Many of you have seen Bullitt. This is an iconic American film by Peter Hyams. Wonderful film, wonderful movie. Great Steve McQueen film. It's got the iconic chase with a 68 Dodge Charger RT. against the 67 Mustang, I'm sorry, 68 Mustang. Fantastic film. I even have the little die-cast Charger and the Mustang from these movies in my on my shelf in my game room. But a wonderful film. I can't even imagine how many times I've seen this. Many of you love this too. This is so good. It's one of those wonderful films that's worth watching once a year. Vanishing Point. This is one of the most iconic films, and the reason why I was hell-bent to get a 1970 RT Challenger. Now this one in the film was a 446-pack four-speed car. I hate to think. And what's funny is I had a chance to buy one of those back in 1988 for $4,000. I thought it was way overpriced at the time. It was a real six-pack four-speed car, bright orange, and I just couldn't swing it. So I ended up buying an automatic one for $2,700, which is much cheaper. It goes to show you how affordable these cars were. This is an iconic film with Barry Newman. Now, they made a remake of it, which I've never seen. I kind of boycotted it just on principle. I feel they should never remake these classics. But this is a great American road movie made by someone who's a non-American, kind of his version of what America was, kind of segueing from the 60s going into the 70s. A really cool, mesmerizing movie, great music, some of the best driving you'll ever see. They wrecked God knows how many 70 Dodge Challengers making this, and lots of good Dodge and Chrysler police cars as well in the giant, highway patrol chase as well. Fantastic film. I know many of you love it as well. This is an unusual film. It's called In Time. It has some kind of futuristic, reworked early 70s Dodge Challengers. They kind of made them look more modern and turned them into like police vehicles. Kind of interesting, but I thought I'd mention it just because it does have some cool older Challengers that are made into like resto mods, which are pretty cool. Cannonball Run. Trying to think what there was. Oh, there was a Dodge van that was the ambulance that had a 440 in it, which actually was the real life van. That actually was the real van that they used in the authentic Cannonball Run that I think Brock Yates was actually in that car at the time. This is one that I just recently bought this. I haven't even watched it yet. But it's just kind of cool, even though it's got Lamborghinis and Firebirds and many other GM type cars and Fords and stuff in it. I think it's cool that they have an old Dodge van with a 440 Magnum in it. And I love the sound of it. It really does sound cool as it's railing down the highway. So I've got those. And then last, if not least, an old classic, which is It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Now this has got a wide assortment of cars and vehicles in it, but it has a red Dodge Belvedere convertible in it. Or it might be a Plymouth Fury or Dodge, or I'm sorry, an old Plymouth Belvedere convertible that's in this, and it shows it doing these incredible jumps out in the desert at high speed as a guy's racing home to see his mother who's in danger. But it does have some good scenes of Chryslers in this. But it's a classic. So this is just kind of a quick video I wanted to put together for many of you that have not maybe seen a lot of these Mopar-related films. If you want to see some good ones, go through this list and take your time and check them out. They're all great movies, and they have excellent Chryslers in them. I'm sure there's many that I've missed. I also have the TV show Mannix, which he starts off with like a late 60s Dodge Dart that's customized. Later he gets a 70 Cuda, a 71 Cuda, a 72 Cuda, and then in the final season he drives a 73 Dodge Challenger, which is pretty cool. And I have the entire series of those on DVD, which are really cool as well. And there's other TV shows that have had, Chryslers and stuff in them too. But I thought this would help you out anyway. They're just some of my favorite movies that have, and I've got a huge selection of car chase movies, White Lightning and all of the Smoking the Bandit films and Hooper and all of those as well. But I thought these would be kind of cool if you've never seen them. These are many wonderful films that have Dodge cars, Chryslers, Plymouths in them, and they're well worth checking out. So thanks for watching. I appreciate your time and comments. Thanks again, my friends. This is Mad Max RT.